I, 32, am getting married to my fiance, 41, next year. After we got engaged, I suggested it might be nice if I asked my fiance's niece, who's 15, if she wanted to be a bridesmaid too. I've only met her a couple of times, so we're not close, but she seemed like a cool kid, and I thought it might be a nice way for us to bond, get to know each other, and involve her in the wedding. She's the only niece or nephew on either side of the family. Anyway, cut to a few weeks ago, and we're in my fiance's hometown to visit his family and discuss wedding-related stuff. His brother, sister-in-law and their daughter came over, and I noticed this time that she was dressed a lot more tomboyish than I remembered. The topic moved to wedding dresses and bridesmaids' dresses, and I could see she was immediately uncomfortable. Her parents, her mom really, and grandma were making comments about how she'd need to be more feminine, brush her hair, etc., and how nice it would be to see her like that. I'll be honest and say this hit a nerve with me, as I was very much a tomboy as a teenager, even though I'm not anymore, and it absolutely broke me whenever my relatives would say things like that. Eventually, her mother made a comment along the lines of, "It'll be nice to see you dressed like a girl for once." And she looked really sad, embarrassed and upset. In response, because that really hit a nerve, I immediately told her that my maid of honor would be wearing a trouser suit for the wedding and not a dress, and that I'd given all the bridesmaids the option of wearing anything they want, as long as it's in the wedding color, to make things easier. I pulled out my phone and started showing her photos of the ideas my friend had sent me: a jumpsuit, culottes, a trouser suit, a tailored tux, etc., and let her know that she could pick anything at all she wanted. She could even wear jeans and trainers, if that made her comfortable, and that it's a wedding, not a fashion show. My niece perked up a bit when I said that, but her mom looked really angry. She since asked my fiancé to pressure me into getting all the bridesmaids' dresses, so their daughter will have to wear one. My husband doesn't care what she wears, but obviously also doesn't want his family and me to be arguing on the wedding day. I don't want to back down, because I know what it feels like to be pressured into wearing something that makes you uncomfortable, but on the other hand, I know it's only for a day, and it'd make the family happy. Am I the idiot for trying to overrule her parents? Not the idiot. You would be the idiot if you went back on it now, for a couple of reasons. First, you'd be taking back your word to your other bridesmaids and forcing them all to be less comfortable to accommodate your brother-in-law and sister-in-law's bullying. Second, how would you have felt at that age, when your family treated you that way, and someone told you were allowed to wear what you were comfortable in, and then immediately turned around and did your family's bidding instead? If her crabby parents want to bully her into wearing something that makes her uncomfortable, you can't stop them. But that doesn't mean you should help them. Not the idiot. You're not trying to overrule the parents are trying to overrule your wedding. I was at a wedding a few years back, where the mother of the groom wore a trouser suit. I tell you what, she looked gorgeous, and even more elegant than the mother of the bride, who wore a dress. Personally, I think all this matching bridesmaid dresses thing is overrated, and let's face it, there is never a single style of dress that looks good on everyone. I was going through literally the exact same thing, being a bridesmaid at my sister's wedding. Thank you for sticking up for her. I wish I had somebody to do that for me. Not the idiot. If you want your niece to wear pants, then she gets to wear pants. It's your wedding, not her parents. They, of course, have the option to forbid her to be in the bridal party if they disagree with your wishes. But I think you have a fair amount of leverage here. They know how many people they'd upset if they did that, and they'd face a lot of uncomfortable questions if it's already known that you've asked your niece to be a bridesmaid. As long as you and your fiancé stand firm on this, I think you'll be able to have your niece in pants in your bridal party. And she will never forget how you stood up for her and showed her it's okay to be exactly who she is. My husband, 31, and I, 26, have been together for 7 years now. We have our first baby on the way. We're thrilled. Now, we've had our issues, but have always worked them out. I'd say we're happy. Anyways, years ago, Before we started dating, a family friend kissed him. He stopped it immediately, and that was that. I've never had an issue with this, since he never tried to hide it from me, and it was before we were together. However, throughout the years, it's become painfully obvious that she's still very much infatuated with him. Husband and I have noticed and shrugged it off since she's mostly been okay about concerning herself with her own life, although it has been pretty cringy sometimes. Also, I started considering her my own friend. Husband and I became close with her on again. Now, over a month ago, my husband and I were having issues. We fixed them, but I stupidly made the mistake of confiding in this family friend. She came to me a lot recently too, so I thought we were bonding. I wish I hadn't told her anything, because I think it made her think she had an opening. Last weekend, she messaged my husband after I had gone to bed. He told me about what was said the morning after. Basically, she said she wished she could be with him, and that she needed him, etc. She didn't want him to tell me, but I'm glad he did. I don't think it's right that she overstepped the way she did. It feels incredibly inappropriate. She's tried messaging me like everything was normal, but I've been ignoring them. I have no desire to talk to her, and I don't think I should have to. My husband and I talked, and agree that there needs to be better boundaries from her, because he said he was uncomfortable with the way she spoke to him too. Throughout the week, she caught on that I didn't want to speak with her, so she's been blowing up my husband's phone. He told her we needed space, and she gave us space for one night. Tonight, she's been sending us both essays on how she's so sad that she's losing her brother because of mood. At first, I didn't say anything to her. I said, "Leave it and us alone," and muted the conversation. She's had her ex-husband message my husband. She's saying she's crying about having to explain to her mom and my husband's mom that they're losing a friendship because of me. I admit, I despise her now. But we asked for space. I didn't think this woman who's almost 30 needed to be acting like she's 15. I feel like she's getting high on her own drama. Should I have messaged her back? Am I the idiot? You need to end this with her now. She has no place in your life. Out, done. You and your husband need to lay down the law and never allow contact with her again. If she has a friend or family member contact you on her behalf, explain she made a pass at your husband which left you both uncomfortable, and it was beyond hurtful and disgusting to go after a married man, and you'd rather not hear about her again, and you'd hate to have her come between you and their relationship. Make a big deal of it, because it's a big deal. Don't allow anyone to come between you two unless one of you has announced the marriage is over. Not the idiot. Honestly, you've been more patient and forgiving with her than I would. Like her early indiscretion is forgivable, I'd be lying if I said I never got lonely and kissed someone I shouldn't have, but to build enough trust that you confide in her about your relationship only for her to immediately try to use that to get it into some serious audacity, and in your shoes, that would have been the moment I went no contact with her. That's not an indiscretion, that's a betrayal. Also, I'm assuming from your post that your husband has always shut her down any time she's tried to approach him like that, which is super disrespectful of him and his consent. No means no. If you don't stand up for yourself and demand respect, especially with narcissistic people like this so-called friend, you will be taken advantage of, and she will be relentless. It sounds like you're really afraid of what your husband and people in general think of you. If you find it difficult to communicate your needs clearly with your husband, then set up a couples counseling, or even counseling just for yourself. It will help you gain those communication skills and ways to deal with things like this. If you sit there doing nothing, she will spin tales about you until she has everyone on her side. You can't just sit on the side idly while this woman is actively trying to destroy your life. So I work at a department store in a mall near where I grew up. I was bullied in high school. Not to the end of my rope, but it wasn't pleasant. I don't think about it a lot, but sometimes people from high school come through my store. I just do my job, and am pleasant to them, because I need the money. Anyway, a woman came through to pick up an order, and she gave me the last name and spelled it. I thought, hey, that's Kristen and Katie's last name from high school. It was a pretty unique one. I didn't say anything at first, just normal pleasant chatter. She took the stuff out of the bag to make sure it was right, and commented my daughters will love these, they just finished college, etc. She essentially confirmed whose mom she was. I was just making small talk and said, oh, I think I went to school with a Kristen and Katie. She said, oh yeah, how funny. Were you friends? I said, oh no, I just knew they were in my grade. She said, were you on the volleyball team with them? I said, no, I don't think so. She looked at my name tag and said, that's odd, I think I remember them talking about a penny back then. You must have come over for their birthday or something. The just kinda made me sad, because I've never been to a birthday party before, and I said no, I definitely never came over. Kristen bullied me, and I don't think I ever talked to Katie. Her entire demeanor changed, which was okay, honestly, I had people in line. She didn't say a single thing after that, and just kinda left without taking her order sheet. I didn't chase her down to get it to her. She'll have a copy in her email anyway. The next customer in line said something like, wow, that was awkward, and my coworker at the counter agreed. They both laughed about it, but later on, my coworker said that it was pretty douchey to tell a parent that their kid was a bully. She has a daughter. I don't have kids. I have a fish named Carl. On the one hand, yeah, I guess. It was like 4 years ago. But at the same time, it happened, and I'd think a parent would want to know that their kid was a jerk to others, so they could talk about it. Even as adults. Am I the idiot? You are the idiot. You brought the connection up. What did you think was going to happen? She didn't know who you were. Her daughters probably never mentioned you. She was trying to be polite to someone who seemed to know her family. This entire interaction wouldn't have happened if you hadn't forced it. What, did you think you would tell their mother how awful her daughter was, and she would tearfully beg your forgiveness, and call your ex-bully on the phone in front of you, and disown her for her crimes? You put this woman who just wanted to do her shopping in peace in an uncomfortable position for no reason. You are the idiot. You brought it up. You basically trapped her into telling her that her daughter was a bully. Obviously, the daughter is a jerk for bullying you. But what good did it do to bring it up to her mom in a store in front of strangers while you were working? There's a time and a place, and this was definitely not it. You sought out this conversation specifically because you wanted to deliver that feedback, which if you were on your own time is one thing, but totally unprofessional of you to do at work, unprovoked. I would have said not the idiot if she had recognized you and said something like, didn't you go to school with my daughters, and then kept pressing the issue. You are the idiot. I'm going on just your interaction with this woman. You broached the I know your kids conversation. She sounds like she was being nice and being a typical mom, and acknowledged knowing you as being a possible friend of her daughter's. She was literally being nice. Then you decided to drop a bomb on her about her daughter. She didn't know her daughter bullied you, and for all you know, if she had known she would have corrected the bad behavior, or not, who knows? I think you wanted to poke a bear, make some drama, for whatever reason. I don't know why you decided to further the conversation other than to start something. Like, why bother? This Sunday was my 23 brother's 28 funeral. Nearly everyone from the family attended, just some of the eldest couldn't because of COVID. I haven't seen my family since years, and saw them again at the funeral, so everyone said his goodbye, and took a look at my brother who laid down in the casket. Some cried and some hold their tears back. As I have looked at him, I just felt totally relieved, not sad, maybe a little sorry for him. However, the same night I just planned to stay at my parents' house the first time after years again. Some old childhood friend came over to wish their condolences, and also my best friend. We got to my old room, and he brought alcohol, and we drank. I am someone who just keeps talking and let out his feelings while drunk, and so I talked and talked. What we didn't know is that my cousin, 15, has recorded us without our notice and showed everything to my parents. To put you guys in the picture, My brother is a mentally ill person who had the intelligence of a 4-year-old. He wasn't even able to be vocal about many things. As I was younger, my parents tried to raise me with the only purpose of being his caregiver, and I hated it. They forced to clean my brother as I was about 10 years old, because I had to learn it anyway. It grossed me out to clean him, change his cloth and change his diapers. I hated him, and my parents. To be honest, my family is a very oppressive kind of family, and everyone has to obey a certain set of rules. In our culture, children are seen more than possession, rather than actual people for themselves. As a 14-year-old, I started to act out and the police had to bring me back home a couple of times. Even Child Protection Services was involved, but nothing happened first. The last time before actions happened, I escaped home for about 2 weeks, before police had found me with the rest of the money I stole from Dad's pocket. Then a therapist talked with me from Child Protection Services, and it was clear I couldn't go back home. The final straw for Child Protection Services and the therapist was, as I admitted, fantasizing about harming my brother. Since Child Protection Services took me from family, I lived in a sort of assisted group house with other children who had their problems with their families until I reached the age of 18. I am still in contact with professional therapists. However, this Monday morning my parents, my aunt and cousin, waited for me downstairs to confront me. There were a lot of yelling. This little goblin recorded me speaking about for 40 minutes. Finally, I burst out and admit that I feel relieved that my brother died and that it was their fault that I hated him. It just bothers me all the time at the moment, and I honestly don't know if I am wrong here. While I feel good about it being out of my system, I think it was unfair to kick my grieving parents as they were already suffering. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Your cousin is the jerk who needs to be taught about privacy. Your parents are the biggest jerks here, though. That is no way to raise a kid. He was their child, their responsibility, and not yours. You were a kid. You deserved your own life, childhood, dreams and goals. Not to take a back seat to their other kid. It is unacceptable for them to assign you the lifelong responsibility of caring for a dependent, even more so when you were still a child. I understand they felt like they had to make arrangements, but that should have been financial planning for an eventual care home when they could no longer care for him, not training up their second kid to do so. Not the idiot. You were having a personal conversation with your friend. It was meant to stay between you two, but your little brat of a cousin recorded it. Parents who raise kids to be caretakers of a disabled person screw as parents. You didn't get the proper childhood because you were too busy cleaning up after someone. You should be playing sports or hanging out with friends. If your parents needed help, then they should have hired a trained caretaker. None of this fighting would have happened if your cousin didn't record you. I think it's best that you don't see your family for a while. They clearly don't care about you or your feelings if they resulted in yelling at you for expressing how you felt as a kid. Not the idiot. Obviously, your parents are jerks for raising you for your brother. They had no right to do that, as you should have been allowed to be a kid and make an informed decision when you were older about being his caretaker. They're further jerks for confronting you about things you said while drunk and grieving, while you thought you were alone with your most trusted confidant. This makes your cousin the jerk too. You're allowed to have these feelings. It sounds like you weren't going to share them with your parents, but that choice was taken away from you, and you were backed into a corner.